All right, this is question 5. Originally, this came from 2013, and it was question number 1. So here they gave us a STEM plot. What proportion of crows had lead levels that were classified as unhealthy? It says unhealthy are crows with lead levels greater than 6 parts per million. So that was 4 numbers out of 23 total numbers. 4 out of 23 can be your work and your answer, or you could have gotten a decimal and gotten 0.174. You can do 4 numbers after the decimal, that's fine. But you had to have your work, I'm sure, as part of your answer. Let's see if part A is scored. Oh, part A is scored on its own. Essentially correct if you have the correct numerical answer as a decimal or a fraction with work shown. So your work, 4/23 can be your work and your answer, but just the decimal would be partially correct. Or if you got the numerator but not the denominator, or the denominator but not the numerator, they also gave you partially correct. Part B had you do a confidence interval. So this confidence interval was a 1 sample t interval with means. Just make sure I got the same answer as them, 4.416, yep, to 5.384, yep. So let's just jump into the scoring. Section 2, essentially correct. The response identifies a 1 sample t interval for a population mean, either by name or formula. And checks both the random sampling, random sample of crows, or SRS of crows would be acceptable. And the normality / large sample, it's not a large sample because it wasn't greater than 30. So to check normality, it's normal because the STEM plot is approximately normal, or the sampling distribution is normal because our STEM plot from our sample is approximately normal. So if you had all 3 of those, that's an essentially correct. And assumptions and the name are often scored together. Section 3, if you gave the correct confidence intervals, supporting work is not required, but if included, it must be correct. Partially correct if you gave incorrect, but with a reasonable confidence interval with appropriate work. Most likely you either got this right or wrong, since we're not showing work on, since we're not showing work, it's either right or wrong. There's no partially correct here. But if you showed work, you have the chance to earn partially correct, but you also risk getting partially correct because your work is incorrect. It's a double-edged sword. Section 4, essentially correct. They give a reasonable interpretation of the interval that includes the following 4 elements. Estimating a mean. Yes, whatever part that is. An inference about a population. So you either needed to say population mean, true mean, or of all crows also would have worked. You don't have to have, you only need 1 of those. You don't need all 3. If you have all 3, you're triply good. 95% confidence. Context, you need the lead level and the crows to get credit for that. So I have lead level of the crows, so I had both. And then I made my approximation here. Partially correct, the response gives a reasonable interpretation of the interval that includes both of the first 2 elements and 1 of the last 2 elements. Or if you did the confidence level. Don't do the confidence level unless they explicitly tell you to do the confidence level. You don't care for it. Oh, yet again, another one that's 1 point for each essentially correct. Half a point for every partially correct, and 0 points obviously for incorrect. You add it up to get your score. It's a very convenient way to score it.